in the mornings when I am bleary-eyed before I get my coffee, I can stumble into the lounge and if I can't do it myself, they will push the button for cappuccino on the machine. I don't have to go into Cabanas or Marceline and fight for that. I don't have to go pay extra in Cove. I can have a really nice quality coffee. And then they have these breakfast sandwiches in the concierge lounge. Oh my gosh, these breakfast sandwiches. They're like Gouda and bacon and tomato and egg, and they're so good.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's live episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel and also our good friends over at the DCL magazine. I just want to give them a quick plug, as we like to do, and say if you have not subscribed already to the DCL magazine, head over to dcl-magazine.com to subscribe today to their inaugural edition of the full DCL magazine. Remember, showing our sponsors some love shows us love. So head over to dcl-magazine.com today to subscribe and use code DCLDuo. That's all caps, DCLDuo, to get 10% off everything in the WDW magazine store, including the DCL magazine itself and a host of other products.
And the first edition or first issue of the magazine, I believe, is going to be out in April. So super exciting. It's going to be a twice a year print magazine. So very exciting. We're very excited to see it and see Brian's words again in print in that magazine. So fantastic.
They're not that exciting, but I am pretty excited about it myself. So anyway, with that, we've got one of our other fabulous show sponsors with us. It's Karen from My Path Unwinding Travel. Welcome back, Karen. It's always good to see you.
Good evening, everybody.
It's so lovely to see you, Karen. Karen, we're talking about concierge cruising tonight. So we had to, of course, invite you on because you are the expert in all things concierge cruising, both on Disney and elsewhere. But before we dive into the show topic, we're going to chat with you for a few minutes before we bring our guest on. But I wanted to talk a little bit of Disney news first. Two pieces of news coming out of the Disney Adventure. First piece of news is the Iron Cycle roller coaster on the Disney Adventure apparently was not operating on either the maiden voyage or the second voyage. I believe the third voyage maybe just started today, and I haven't heard anything about whether it's up. I did hear that there were engineers working on the roller coaster on board the ship, but I think some passengers were pretty disappointed, especially because on the preview sailings, there were quite a few influencers who did get to, of course, ride on the coaster. And then, of course, paid guests have not gotten to ride on the coaster. So it's a little bit of unhappiness there.
Hard to be a theme park at sea when the rides aren't working. So yeah.
Yeah. And the other two rides are working and have been working, but the other two rides are more, let's call them kiddie rides, right? Like one of them is kind of like a flying Dumbo, and then the other one is just literally a go-kart where you go around like a very small track. And they look really cute, but like the theming is great, but it's not like a thrill ride. The other piece of news is also off the Adventure. The Adventure has introduced something called Selfie at Sea, and we were chatting about it pre-show, and it basically sounds like what was happening during the pandemic reopening, where you can take a picture of yourself with the character behind you, usually on a stage or on some kind of platform. And the reason they have added this on the Adventure is because all of the character meet and greets are reservation only. So like if you want to go and meet them, take your picture, get an autograph, all of that. And so there was limited capacity for that, with obviously a large number of passengers being unhappy that they weren't getting to meet the characters. And then when there were characters that were roaming around, as you see on the other Disney ships, they were getting just mobbed with people, and they really weren't able to, it just wasn't working operationally. So they introduced this new thing called Selfie at Sea. It's only on the Adventure. I I mean, it's possible they could bring it to the other ships. I'm not sure it's something that's necessary on the other ships, but it was including like Duffy and friends, the Fab Five characters, Jack Sparrow, princesses, right? They would be up on the stage, or Moana was on her like pool stage, and then people would take a, picture of themselves with their camera in front of the character. Anyway, I just thought it's kind of funny because it's a throwback to the pandemic era, but it is a way to increase probably guest satisfaction with people being able to get at least a picture with a character that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get. Karen, what do you think about this new offering?
I think that it might be a reason to consider concierge on the Disney Adventure.
I don't know though that concierge guests are having any kind of advantage in those character meet and greets. Now they may do a meet and greet in the lounge, but I don't know about
They're
the other.
able to have some reservations, though. I believe we've made advanced reservations for concierge guest selling on the adventure, so that we'll see how that evolves. I think that we need to give it time. This is a massive new endeavor for Disney Cruise Line, and there's bound to be bumps in the road, and we need to, and they're already adjusting and trying to pivot and see what works. So I think we need to give it time and know that any maiden voyage inaugural season has things that might not work and might need evolving. So we'll see how it changes over time and what they're able to accomplish on board.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. And especially the first of its class, any kind of first of its class maiden voyage we saw with the Wish, right? Operational challenges, construction challenges, all the like. And then we're seeing that again with the Adventure. I'm sure that the Dream and the Magic had those issues back when they launched many, many years ago. And the second ship of its class tends to be obviously a lot smoother. So it is one of those things where I think you're right. They're going to make operational adjustments. Now, the third thing I think is kind of the most exciting thing, a third piece of news, which is Disney Cruise Line yesterday released a brand new advertisement that we're going to play. We might talk over the ad, but we
should talk over it. I'm going to bring the ad volume down a bit. But if you have not seen this ad, it is up on YouTube and it is fantastic.
Brian, turn it down a little bit.
Yep,
it's
I'm
a little
working
bit
on
too
it.
loud.
There you go. So there you go. Yes.
So it's the family sailing. They're actually sailing on the Treasure, which is funny because this Treasure is only a year and a half old. Not even, right?
Yeah, well, it progresses through time. As this baby ages, then suddenly it's an adult. But the ship's only been around for a year. I think somebody commented it would have been interesting if they had maybe started on the Magic or the Wonder for this ad. But it's a heart-tugging ad.
I have to say that for any parents out there who know the story Love You Forever, this ad is ripped from that book. Love you for always, love you forever. I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. And just that whole, those caring moments. I love this ad, and I grabbed my Evie because I think this ad exceeds the Evie ad.
Evie ad. Wow. And that's high praise, right? Like both of these ads are so incredible. Here's, of course, the next generation where the dad is now the grandpa, the son is now a dad with his young child. And then the three of them go for this nice. So I like that they even showed that teenage stage where the kid didn't want to hang out with the parent, but then still went out with him in the middle of the night to walk the deck. So anyway, fantastic ad.
Yep.
Now, Karen.
And it really captures, you could take your baby on a Disney cruise and start those memories super early. But, one of the things when Sam and I were chatting earlier about what should I talk about today, the first thing I said is, I want to talk about the ad. And part of the reason that I thought it's relevant for sharing about the My Path Unwinding Travel team is that our team was talking about the ad today because we all have a heart for Disney Cruise Line, and it touches us just the way it touches you all, hopefully. And, I always like to say that we are, a full service travel agency, but Disney and especially Disney Cruise Line is at the heart of our team. And this ad, just kind of spoke to all of us. So besides the fact that I'm like a magnet to anything concierge related. So I have to come on today. But I thought I would give just some quick thoughts about our team and concierge planning. And, first of all, I want to say that we work with all Disney cruisers, whether you're on the inside cabin. I call it the get me on the ship at any price. Like, just let's find the best price and get me on the ship, because you know that you can have an incredible time, to that person that wants to be in the royal suite and will only sell concierge. We work with everyone. Sometimes we get that question, can we still work with you? The answer is yes. But we do have a strong affinity towards concierge cruising, and we feel that it's a strong expertise for us. We've been running the Disney Cruise Line Concierge Guests Facebook group, and maybe Brian can share that in the show notes at some point, in case any of you are not members. That is a group that is open to everybody, whether or not you're our client, whether you're working with another travel advisor. We're there to share information and knowledge about what it means to sail in Disney Cruise Line concierge level. Now, a lot of people think that it's just a room, that maybe it's a larger room or it's a suite. But as you're going to hear with your guests coming up too, it's so much more than that. And I love to talk about it for new cruisers, because if you're a new cruiser, there's a lot of things that you might hear hyped up on the Duo or on other forms of social media that you think, hey, I really want to be sure I can do, like Apollo Brunch or the Royal Gathering, for example, or certain port adventures if you're in Alaska. If you're a new cruiser, you will be at the very last group to be able to access those cruise activities. But if you're a concierge guest, you go to the very top of the list. And part of our job as travel advisors is to guide you through all of that to make sure that you're getting the best value out of your concierge cruise, so that when somebody asks you, is Disney Cruise Line concierge worth it? The $1 million question. We hope that our clients that have experienced it come back saying, 100% yes, we want to do it again. So we want to guide you through that whole process to make sure that you're getting the most out of it.
Awesome. Yeah. And I would highly recommend that if you are booking concierge and you haven't booked concierge before, that even if you don't decide to work with Karen or My Path Unwinding Travel, make sure you're working with a travel advisor that is familiar with the concierge product on Disney Cruise Line. It is different than on other cruise lines, and it is unique even within the Disney portfolio. So I highly recommend, don't just book with whatever, travel agent that happens to be out there. Do your research, make sure the person that you're working with knows the product that you're looking to book. So Karen, thank you so much. Tell folks where they can reach out to you and the team at My Path Unwinding.
We are at mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo. We have your own landing page so that we know that you're a DCL Duo listener. You can also just find us on Facebook and Instagram, My Path Unwinding, in that DCL Concierge Guests Facebook group, or you can reach out to DCL Duo at mypathunwinding.com.
You got it.
And we have,
reach out to any of us and we will get you to the right people.
And we have the link scrolling across the screen for anyone who didn't catch that. And we will also, we put it in all of our show notes. So you can always find Karen and her fabulous team. So thank you, Karen, for joining us.
Looking forward to listening to the rest of the conversation tonight. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
See ya.
We're going to bring on Whitney now, our guest for tonight's episode. Hey, Whitney.
Hi, Whitney. I think you're muted.
Still on mute.
I think you're still muted. There we
We
go.
asked you to mute while you're off camera, but we forgot. Yeah,
Hi,
unmute.
guys. So
Thank you
excited to be here. Off mute.
Thank you so much for being with us, Whitney. Now, we're going to talk about your Disney cruise line sailing on the Disney Destiny, your first time on the Disney Destiny, not your first time sailing concierge. We actually have an episode that we recorded with you on your first time sailing concierge, which was on the Disney Treasure not too long ago. But we wanted to invite you back. We had such a great time chatting with you the last time. But we got to start with talking about your cruise line history, because you actually have quite a bit of cruise line experience on other lines, and then a little bit, of course, on Disney as well.
Yeah. So we started cruising actually right when we got married, which was about 13 years ago now. My husband and I cruise without kids. And so we started cruising on NCL and have done about 5 cruises on Norwegian. And about half of those have been in what's called the Haven class, which is their concierge equivalent. We've also sailed in Celebrity in their kind of concierge equivalent once to Alaska. We have 1 royal sailing under our belt, but it was a super old ship. It does not compare to the kind of crazy Oasis class ships, all of that they're doing now. And then we've also sailed Virgin Voyages in their Mega Rockstar class, which was just coming out of COVID. Kind of managed to get an amazing deal there, and that was an amazing experience. So happy to talk about those and how they compare to Disney.
Mega Rockstar is our favorite way to sail on Virgin Voyages.
I mean, it's pretty sweet. You also have experience sailing on the Disney Magic, not in concierge. So we're gonna of course focus this conversation on sailing concierge on the Disney Destiny. So we'll talk about some things Destiny and some things concierge. But I want to start with, why did you book the Destiny, and why did you book it in concierge in particular?
Yeah. So we sailed Disney for the first time on the Treasure a year ago in April. So it was still in the inaugural season of the Treasure. And it was such an amazing experience, start to finish. You can go watch the older episode to hear all about my gushing over the Treasure. And I got addicted to Disney real quick. So coming out of that, I booked not 1, not 2, but 3 other cruises, in fact, with Disney. And the Destiny had just been announced around that time. And so we knew it was coming. And so as soon as bookings kind of opened up, wanted to get on that ship and experience that. One of my big motivations actually in when we booked this cruise for our Treasure cruise, we had missed the inaugural cast by like 3 cruises.
Oh my God.
I tried to backdate in my head and figure out, like, how can I nail the inaugural cast?
Yeah.
And we were the first cruise with the non-inaugural cast for entertainment on this cruise. So I did not nail it, but we still had a great time.
Well, that's helpful though, because I've been really curious. I feel like everyone that we've talked to about the Destiny saw Destiny cast number 1. And so I'm going to put a pin in that, but I want to ask you about Ziya and Gamble and the rest of Destiny cast number 2, because I always say, the OGs are usually the best, but that doesn't mean that the next class isn't amazing too. So, but let's dive into why concierge again. Did you consider booking the Destiny? You had experienced the concierge lounge. It's pretty much the same, and the benefits on the Treasure with slightly different theming. We got some Avengers theming versus Star Wars theming in the lounge. Very, very light. Tasteful theming. Let me just put that note out there. But did you consider booking outside of concierge? You had booked the Magic and non-concierge. So I'm curious, what was the sort of the decision point for you?
Yeah. For me, I don't feel like I'm one of those, I've gone concierge so I can never go back type of people. I think it really depends on the ship and the itinerary for me personally as to whether it's worth it. On the Wish class ships, because they offer so many more concierge perks, you have the hot tubs on the sun deck. You have the hot breakfast and meals in the lounge. And those itineraries for the Wish class ships are often going to Castaway or Lookout, where you have the cabanas. That to me really makes concierge on the Wish class ships much more desirable. Plus just as many people are on those ships, having concierge access really helps. Whereas on the Magic, we sailed at very maritime. It was a full ship. We didn't need to, the itinerary didn't have Castaway, so there was no need for a cabana. Those shows are not so popular that you need the early access to the theater. There's not a hot tub. There's not hot food in the lounge. So it just didn't seem like as necessary of an element. I will say my husband is 6'6", and he thinks that the showers in the older ships, non-concierge, are not the best experience. So if you're tall, perhaps you might want to invest in concierge to get a better shower. But you can always go shower at the spa.
Yeah, so you got to start at the spa. I think the key is if you're really tall, you go shower at the spa. Yeah.
So I totally agree with you, Whitney, that it's ship and itinerary dependent. I would say the one other thing, I think you touched on this, that I tend to pay attention to is like for us, concierge in Alaska made a huge difference in terms of the shore excursions we could book, even though we weren't going to one of the private islands. So I think, and we did it in Norway too, where some of the shore excursions were much more limited. So like if you're on one of these sailings that's going to have these very special and unique shore excursions, concierge is not a bad way to go. Or, with us for the DVC cruise, having friends sailing in concierge is not a bad way to go.
Yeah, we're booked, but we did not book concierge, but we do have friends. I don't know if they're in the chat. I haven't seen them in the chat yet, but we have friends sailing with us that they're sailing concierge. So really nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the booking process. Now, did you send your email in at 130 days to tell Shoreside Concierge, I want A, B, C, D, and E to be booked for me, and I want these waters or Sprite or whatever in your room? Like, what kind of?
Sam, we did get an update today from our friends who are on where are they? They Wish? Are they on the Wish?
No, they're on the Treasure.
The Treasure and Concierge. And I have learned something new today, which is that Concierge can no longer bring on board the non-standard drinks if they're in plastic bottles. So
interesting.
Because Disney has eliminated all the single-use plastic. So just to the point of, did you request special stuff? That has been diminished now.
Maybe aluminum, but if it comes in aluminum,
no more vitamin water for me on board. But yes.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So Whitney, what did you request? I think people are always, what can you request? And then, there is a limit to what you can request, but I think different people sort of request different stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting because the email window actually fell during our Magic cruise. And so we had to get the internet package on the Magic cruise in order to send in our booking email. But it worked out great. So our requests were, first of all, we wanted a cabana on Lookout. It was our first time at Lookout, and I burn really easily, and I had heard there wasn't a ton of shade on that island. So I wanted the cabana in order to be able to have shade. We'd never done a cabana before. So that was the top of our list. And we got it, which was exciting because we had done a cabana request for Castaway on the Treasure and were unsuccessful at that. But that was before they built the Mickey and Minnie cabanas.
Right.
Yeah. Second, we actually, to your point, Brian, about great shore excursions, we actually did the fishing, 3-in-1 fishing expedition at Castaway. And that's a really amazing excursion because only 4 guests can do it. And so if a concierge guest wants that excursion, nobody else on the ship is going to get it, basically. So it was us and then one other family, a father and a son, on a boat with a guide and a boat driver, essentially. And we went all around Castaway and did different types of fishing, like trawling and then like casting and different things. And we managed to catch a lot of fish. So
I saw the pic. I mean, we posted the picture on our socials of you with the fish on the hook. It was awesome. I didn't realize that was at Castaway. That's really fun because you hear about people doing that fishing excursion, but because it's so limited, you don't hear about it very often.
Well, if they ever brought back, what was it called? Be Our Chef? Was that the thing that was in?
Yes.
Sam would book concierge in a heartbeat just to get the Be Our Chef experience. But
they haven't brought it back. It was pre-pandemic. They did this experience where it was like small group, like cooking class, and you got even a chef coat, and it was I think it took place at Remy. not at Palo. I think it was only on, I can't remember if it was on all the classes or if it was just on the Dream class, but yeah, they haven't brought it back. But yeah, there are certain experiences, while they're not exclusive to concierge, they basically are exclusive to concierge because, or maybe a Pearl guest might get it. And so if you want that activity, that's something to definitely request in that email. Now, did you request a specific dining rotation or any adult dining? Because it's just your husband and you. So you're sailing, you obviously can do, Enchante or Palo really any night, but did you have specific requests you put in as well?
We did. We requested Enchante on Pirate Night, and then we requested Palo on our Marvel night. We're not a huge fan of the Marvel menu and had seen the show already, and so wanted to experience. We had done we'd done Palo brunch and dinner before, but wanted to do Palo dinner and then Enchante, which was amazing. I mean, we're big foodies, and that was just an incredible experience. So we did those, but then we also had put in the request just to have our table when we were in the rotational dining to ourselves. And I have a hunch because both times we've done concierge, we've gotten amazing tables, but this was like the extra amazing. So when you're in Pride Lands at the Lion King, they have the stage in the round, and the way it's set up, there's like one table that's literally up against the stage for two people, and we were that table. And so, whereas depending on where you are, I've heard this experience is still great regardless. But we were, right there, could feel the breeze as the performers walked by, and I think that is a table that they probably reserve for concierge.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely, if you're in any of the restaurants that have like a show on any of the ships, if you're staying in concierge, you are going to get the more premium seating. That doesn't mean that there won't be some.
I have heard of people saying concierge who have not gotten the best. They've gotten decent seats, but not the best seats. But
decent seats is what I mean. You're not going to be all the way in the back of the restaurant unless you request that. If you request you want to be all the way far from the stage because you have noise sensitive or light sensitive or something like that, you can make those requests. But the default is you will typically get a better location table. Yeah.
What is your favorite, Whitney? What is your favorite benefit of concierge? Is it the early booking? Is it the access to the lounge? Is it you've got the concierge host, so you never have to set foot in front of a guest services?
Early access to the shows, Brian. Don't forget.
Room, I won't. The early access to the shows. What is it that makes the secret sort of recipe for you that says concierge might be worth it this time?
Yeah, I think two things, both connected to the lounge, right? Which is in the mornings when I am bleary-eyed before I get my coffee, I can stumble into the lounge and someone if I can't do it myself, they will push the button for cappuccino on the machine. I don't have to go into Cabanas or Marceline and fight for that. I don't have to go pay extra in Cove. I can have a really nice quality coffee. And then they have these breakfast sandwiches in the concierge lounge. Oh my gosh, these breakfast sandwiches. They're like Gouda and bacon and tomato and egg, and they're so good. I literally dream about the sandwich. I've tried to recreate it. It's not the same when I make it at home. But
I dream about that same sandwich, Whitney. I think it's hilarious you say. So it's only on the Wish class because, as Whitney was talking about earlier, you don't have hot food items on the other ships. Only in the Wish class because they have a dedicated kitchen space. But I also dream of that breakfast sandwich. You can also get Mickey waffles and Mickey churro waffle. Mickey churro waffles are more limited, but you can get Mickey waffles in there every day. You have to order and wait for them. They're not like at a buffet, but all of that stuff is made fresh in that kitchen. Oh, I dream of I'm dreaming of that sandwich right now as we speak.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And then the second piece is the happy hour that they do in the evening for guests is also from 5 to 10. You get free drinks, pretty decent quality too. I would say the wines, they vary based on the sailing, but you're usually looking at a wine that probably retails in like the $20 to $40 region, or per bottle, or they have a lot of different kind of bourbons, tequilas, rums, things like that, if you like mixed drinks. And so that's really nice too, to be able to grab a drink before the show and take it in with you, or grab a drink before dinner. And then you don't feel like you need to order additional drinks at dinner because you kind of already have your drink that you can enjoy with your meal. So those two benefits, really, that's what makes the concierge experience for me. But, certainly the rest of the perks are great too.
Just to pause us for a second, because you have sailed in the Haven, you have sailed Mega Rockstar, you have sailed Celebrities, I forget what it's called, but Suite Class. Yeah. How do you, Disney's price for concierge is, I will just say from my viewpoint, got a little out of control over the last couple of years. Mega Rockstar and Virgin for a week-long cruise is sometimes far less than what Disney's charging for concierge for a comparable cruise. When you look across these offerings and the price points and the various benefits, like, where do you see Disney fitting in? Do you think they have opportunity to do something a little bit different or better, or do you think that the product is kind of perfect as is? Like, how do you make that comparison?
I find it really interesting, Brian, that I've gotten on the last two concierge cruises the post survey that specifically asked about drink packages, right? And so it's curious to me if maybe that's something that they're exploring, because when you do sail Haven on NCL or Mega Rockstar on Virgin, all of your alcoholic drinks are included, right? And so it's not just this kind of limited 5 to 10 window. And what's nice about that, because I do really appreciate that benefit, but especially a new ship, it kind of makes you feel tethered to the concierge lounge, where perhaps 100%. You would prefer to go out and explore one of the themed lounges and try the drinks there. And maybe, you're kind of skipping that experience to go back to what you feel like you've already paid for. And so, I think that the way that some of the other lines have incorporated drinks for the concierge level guests is better. But for me, it's really the service that sets Disney apart. The service of the concierge staff, the service of others when you're concierge, and they recognize even the port staff, they know that you're the ones that are getting there early and are in the special boarding zone. Everyone is just so lovely throughout. And that is really the Disney difference, I would say, compared to some of these other lines. I will say the one that I thought was equal in service to Disney was Virgin on the Mega Rockstar, because you have that, they call them your roadie or whatever. But essentially your
agent.
Your
butler.
Agent, whatever it is. And they're setting up these special magical experiences for you. When we were on Virgin, our agent actually heard, oh, you guys like drinks, you like cocktails, you like mixology. Let me bring the director of beverage for the entire ship to your suite to give you a private demonstration mixology class, right?
That is the kind of stuff that Virgin does that Disney probably won't ever do. But that's amazing. Yeah.
To the point you made, Whitney, what I liked about the Virgin experience, so Royals is comparable to what Disney's doing. I think the price point is much less, but kind of comparable. What I liked about Virgin was I didn't have to go to Richard's Rooftop or some lounge in order to access my host, my agent. They would find us half the time, or I could just text with them, and they were dedicated to us in 2 other rooms, I think. And so to your point, there was just there's something about having to go to the lounge. It's okay, well, I've got my own dedicated, customer service desk in the lounge. It's a little different when it's I've got my own person assigned to me, and they're either finding me on board throughout the day to make sure that everything's going well, those sorts of things. So
they have that on Royal, but it's the highest level on Royal, which we didn't stay on. We've stayed in the suite class, but in Star Class, not.
No, we stayed in Sky Class.
We stayed in Sky Class. That's right. Yeah. Sorry, I mix up the names because it's Sea, Sky, Star. Star. Anyway, I really like your point, Whitney, though, about being tethered to the lounge. That's one of the things why I hesitate when I'm on a newer ship to actually stay concierge for the first time, because I want to be exploring the rest of the spaces. But what I would love is if Disney would allow you to, maybe it's drink credits, right? Like even on Virgin, you can get up to like a $20 drink or something. Over that, you actually have to pay for the drinks. But if they let
you get a bar tab too. Yeah.
Well, yes. But what I'm saying is if they included X number of drinks that were $20 and below or $25 and below, right? Like then, because I think one of the comments from Blue Skies and Sunshine Guaranteed says that he's intrigued by it, but he fears this like culture of like the Epcot drinking around the world, right? We don't want sort of drunk cruiser culture on Disney. That's one of the things we don't have on Disney, and you do have on some of the other lines. And so I think it could be nice if they did some sort of like limited even offering for, whether that's for concierge guests or everyone. I mean, I don't really necessarily care, but it would be nice to have that. And we've got Gala is also saying running back and forth to the lounge to get your money's worth and drinks can be annoying, which I completely agree.
I would say you're never going to get your money's worth in drinks. Yeah. So
yeah, you can't. Don't try to drink your money's worth. That's not a good idea.
Are you listening to our show because you want to make the most out of your next vacation? Great news, the fabulous team over at My Path Unwinding Travel can help guide you so you don't miss a thing. Their team of professional travel advisors are caring, knowledgeable, and experienced. It's why we use them to book our own travel. My Path Unwinding Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, which means they are recognized by Disney for their expertise and service. They have sailed on all the Disney ships, including in concierge, visited the theme parks, adventured with Disney, relaxed at Aulani, and so much more. Whether it's a Disney cruise, a theme park vacation, or Adventures by Disney, or if you are looking to expand beyond the mouse, My Path Unwinding Travel will elevate your next vacation planning experience. Even if you have already booked, reach out for a complimentary consultation to make your vacation even more magical. Ready to talk to the experts? Head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. Thanks, My Path Unwinding, for sponsoring today's show. Now back to the episode.
Let's talk about some of the other benefits. Early boarding or really boarding anytime, right? Like, I personally think that that's a great benefit because I'm paying for that day. I want as much time on the ship as possible. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, I would agree, Sam. And I think that especially that becomes very important if there's anything that you need to tweak about your plans, right? When you board on concierge, they're going to very much try to shuttle you into the concierge lunch, which they offer in one of the rotational dining rooms. It's a very nice lunch. It's a standard menu, but with a few extra options usually, and beer and wine is included. But you don't have to go directly into the lunch. They serve the lunch until like 2:30, something like that. And so on the Treasure Cruise, we actually, we wanted to change our dining time. And so we booked it instead to the lounge and we're able to get that taken care of immediately, instead of having to kind of wait and deal with that later. So that's a really nice perk too. I would say though, even more than getting on the ship, on these Wish Class ships, especially if they're sold out, getting off can be a pain.
Ooh, yes.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And so having the concierge staff, you have a nice calm breakfast in the lounge, and then they walk you down on a private elevator to go down to debark whenever you're ready. You skip all of the lines. You don't have to wait for a specific luggage tag to be called. So I would say that's actually even nicer than being able to board early.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as sad as it is to get off the ship, when it's time to get off the ship, you don't want to wait in line to end your vacation.
Yeah, you don't want to spend the day trip. Now they do make you get off by like 8:30 if you're doing that. Versus if you want to stay on till 9, then you got to wait with everybody else in the line. But it is a pain to wait in the long line as you're probably carrying, at least your carry-on luggage with you. Well, I want to talk about the theater access because that's one of my favorite benefits. Whitney, I know other cruise lines offer some of that as well, but what do you think of that benefit? And why don't you tell folks what that benefit looks like?
Yeah. So the theater benefit is that 30 to 45, it depends kind of on the staff and the shows, but a certain amount of time early, you meet your concierge staff down to go in the ADA entrance to the theater before they open the theater to the rest of the guests on board. And then as you walk in, they offer you free popcorn, free waters, and you get your first choice of seats in the theater before kind of they open the doors. That to me is incredibly valuable, again, on an inaugural or new ship where there is a lot of hype over the shows. And we did see on our ship, they did offer Hercules as a matinee as well. And so there were 3 showings of it, but it was definitely full in the 6 o'clock sailing or the 6 o'clock showing that we did. And I heard it was full on all of them. And so being able to not have to queue up in a line, waste that time on your vacation ahead of time is certainly nice. We got great seats as well. And so just taking that, a little bit of stress or friction out of your cruise experience is fantastic. I will say, like, I was a little surprised. And this was, I did not get the inaugural cast I was hoping for, but the Hercules show was kind of a letdown for me. And so I was a little bit bummed on that one. I especially coming off of the Treasure, where I thought both Beauty and the Beast and Moana were such strong shows. I thought maybe they could use a little more rehearsal on the Hercules performance I saw.
Oh, all right. Well, you saw Cast 2 on their first week of performances. Yes. Well, I mean, they had done rehearsals on the ship while Cast 1 was finishing up their contract, because they always have like a 2-week changeover period. So Cast 2 can watch Cast 1, and then also Cast 2 can rehearse during off time. So they will always have that happening when the 2 casts are on together. But once Cast 1 leaves, Cast 2 fully takes over. So you were on that first week. I've got to ask you, Hercules being a bit of a letdown, was that because of the performers? Was it because they didn't know what they were doing exactly? And then I got to ask more relatedly about the other shows and other sort of performances across the ship.
Yeah, it felt kind of, and this is mainly for the main theater shows, right? That cast maybe just needed a little bit more performance in the space. I honestly wonder if where they had been practicing was a smaller stage, perhaps, because what kept happening, they have these huge puppets, not to ruin anything for anyone that hasn't seen it yet. And, Hercules is fighting these monsters, and he would be like 5-6 feet away from them and like, hiya. And then they would go like, whoa. And it was just kind of like, you couldn't suspend disbelief quite that much on a lot of it. So it didn't quite work.
Well, I can tell you it can be very worse, because we talked to someone recently, the puppets were broken. And so they just had Hercules and then some sort of projection mapping of
this was the Hydra puppet.
The Hydra puppet. And I was like, that's got to be so terrible.
So disappointed. Disappointed. Yeah. Somebody's asking, where do the inaugural cast go after the inaugural sailing? They go home. It's actually technically still the inaugural sailings. There's an inaugural season, is not just that first few months of it's technically inaugural means the first year. Although they tend to run out of the Castaway Club gifts that say inaugural sailing before the year is up. But the cast has been they were rehearsing always in Toronto for months before they get on board. Then they're on board for about, what did we figure, about 4 months, and then they go home. And that next cast has actually been in rehearsals for at least a month before they go before they come on the ship. Usually a little bit even more than that. I'm not sure the exact timeline.
I mean, I know
the first cast rehearses the most, though. The first cast has like 3 months of rehearsals before they start. Sorry, Brian, I interrupted you.
I know that the Treasure has gone through multiple iterations of cast at this point, but I will say I am a little nervous to get on board. Now I'm forgetting the names of the storytellers on the Treasure, because Ziya and Gamble are on the Destiny.
Sage and Coriander.
Sage and Coriander. Thank you. I'm a little nervous to meet Sage and Coriander on the Treasure, because I have a very clear image in my mind of who Sage and Coriander are from the first sailings that we did on the Treasure.
But we did see a second cast, Brian. We have seen 2 different casts of Sage and Coriander,
that just puts into perspective how memorable that second cast was for me. So yeah. No knock to them. It's just like when you were on the inaugural, the maiden voyage, and yeah.
When I picture Sage and Coriander and when I picture Ziya and Gamble, I have specific people that I picture them as, and they are cast number 1 of both the Treasure and the Destiny. Whitney, I got to ask about Ziya and Gamble because obviously these are new storytellers to you. You had seen the Sage and Coriander on the Treasure, so you had an idea of what to expect. You also listened to our show, so you had an idea of what to expect in that respect as well. What did you think of the new Destiny cast 2, Ziya and Gamble?
Yeah. I thought they were really fun. I didn't notice any performance issues there. They really played off each other really well. I loved the Marvel kind of adult comedy show. That was a great moment. Really enjoyed them. And I thought actually some of the other entertainment staff that they had on that ran things like Match Your Mate and things like that were also really, really strong this cast. So there were definitely some high points out there as well.
Yeah, I did see a clip on, I think it was on Instagram, of the Cruella troublemaking of the new cast, and I gotta say they were great. I mean, they weren't our originals who I picture in my head, but like they were really quite entertaining, and they were doing all the moves, and it seemed like it was really flowing. I gotta ask about those experiences because, of course, one of the things that you don't get as a benefit in concierge is you don't get priority to things like meet and greets with Cruella or Dr. Facilier or Maleficent or the Cruella show or any of that kind of stuff. And so that's one place if Disney wanted to add in benefits or additional perks for concierge sailors, they could, but they would probably have riots from the rest of the cruisers because it's already long lines and it would only increase the lines for the rest of the guests. It would be more of like lightning lane culture brought onto, the ship. But I got to ask, despite having to wait for some of those experiences, of course, like what did you think of them and which ones were your like 2 or 3 favorites?
Yeah. Well, I will say, so you're right that there isn't like a specific concierge fast pass or anything for those, but especially for the Dr. Facilier parlor, they offer one of the shows at like 1:00 on embarkation day. And so again, that early boarding that you've already done from concierge, that allowed us to get there, be able to have already put our bags in our room before rooms were ready for regular guests, and then get in line for that so that we could knock that out before most guests were even on board. And so we did do Dr. Facilier's parlor. We watched the Cruella fashion show from one of the upper decks. We did not participate in the fashion show ourselves.
Oh, darn.
And we did not do troublemaking. We had seen it. My husband is like very averse to karaoke. And so he was like, it's too close to karaoke. No.
It's a group sing-along. It's not karaoke. I always want to put that out there. There's an element that is a group sing-along, but even Brian would participated in it because it doesn't require anybody. It doesn't require him standing up and singing in front of people he doesn't know.
So one good question in the chat here, Ed's asking, do concierge get early access to the rooms? The answer is yes. Concierge rooms are ready and available usually close to boarding, if not very shortly after. And so you'll see people in concierge, they'll go up and just go under the rope because their rooms are ready ahead of the rest of the rooms on board, which does it makes actually it's usually like right after the concierge lunch, everything is kind of ready to go. As my
I want to say it's like 12:30 instead of 1:30. As I think sometimes you'll get to board at like 11:15, 11:30. I mean that's on the early side, but occasionally you'll get to board that early because customs cleared the ship quickly and all of that. And so if you get to board, let's say at 11:30, you'll typically go to that lunch, and then as soon as you're done with lunch, your room will be ready. As opposed to regular guests, it's usually 1:30. So it's an hour early, which does make a difference for carrying around that bag.
Yeah,
and as Whitney mentioned, dropping off your bag, and then you can run in for a Dr. Facilier parlor instead of carrying your bag and the entire.
And the lounge is open. So even if your room wasn't ready, you can just go to the lounge, and it has got plenty of space, unlike, cabanas or Marceline Market, depending on the ship, on embarkation day. Everyone's not trying to crowd around the open space. So it makes a huge difference on boarding day, just be able to get your luggage put away and not have to worry about it.
And I mean, I think also, even if you, especially if you have kids, we don't, but if you have kids that are really into the slides, that embarkation day is a great day to do that without many lines in place. So pack some swimwear in your carry-on bag. You can be changed if you're concierge in swimwear by, no later than 1 o'clock. Again, able to, they had Aquamouse running with no line, people just allowed to continue and do it multiple times on embarkation.
Sometimes that's awesome. They don't, so that your mileage may vary there only because there are times where they don't open that the Aquamouse until later. But that's oftentimes because of weather conditions. Like if it's too windy, they won't have it running. Or if just staff issues or whatnot. But that's a really big benefit for sure if you want to get on the water slide.
CT's asking in the chat, our friend Tinfoil Mouse here, what itineraries are most advantageous to book as concierge? And we touched on this briefly at the top of the show, but I think any itinerary that's going to Lookout or Castaway, if you want a cabana,
or an excursion, that's more difficult to get.
I do want to ask you, Whitney, about that excursion for a second. But if you want a cabana, it's changing a little now at Castaway with the addition of more cabanas. We are finding people kind of not on their booking window day, but maybe later into the booking, or closer in time to the cruise, people drop cabanas and you can kind of pick them up. And so we're hearing more and more about people even at Gold Castaway or Silver grabbing. We had a first-time cruiser I think we talked to grabbed a cabana. So I think any itinerary to the private islands, I think any itinerary where there's a very unique shore excursion involved, Alaska, Norway for us. I can't comment on many of the other European itineraries. We just haven't done as many. I think, sailing the Wonder out of San Diego, going to Catalina Island and Ensenada, far less important. There's just far less, sort of concierge special opportunity there. So I think, you just kind of got to look at what you want to do. And if you're looking at your sailing and you're looking at your shore excursions before you book and you're like, oh, I really want to go on a helicopter tour, guess what? That's gonna sell out almost always to concierge. So, yeah.
Well, and one thing that CT is noting is unique high pearl sailings. That's a great point. So those sailings that go from Vancouver to Hawaii and Hawaii back to Vancouver, right? Those sort of repositioning ones that are more unique ports, those tend to sell very heavily to Pearl and Platinum cruisers. And if you happen to be no Castaway Club status, silver or gold, but you want to sort of bump your status because you want to get ahead of the line, that's one thing.
One thing I would say on those kinds of sailings like Panama Canal, Vancouver, those sorts of things, they're longer sailings. So you don't need to be in concierge to get Palo brunch.
To do everything.
Right.
That's a good.
And so because they're longer, the crowd spread out. Panama Canal traditionally is was a little undersold. So there's more stuff you can get into on the ship if they bring it, when they bring it back, or I guess they have it on the itineraries again, but it will sell out. I agree. If it's unique, yes. If it's just longer, like a transatlantic cruise, I'm just not sure there's a ton of value in concierge to be had because you got a ton of sea days to get everything done you want to do on the ship. I
agree with you.
There was one other perk I was just going to mention about concierge, which is you typically get a character in the lounge on one day of the sailing, which is nice if you wanted to get a picture with a character and you something like the Treasure or the Destiny where you've got long lines. It does get you a character opportunity with a pretty short line. How Whitney? Let me ask you, how were the lines on the Destiny? Because our experience has been long, very long lines. Were they still?
You got a great picture with Loki, so we know there was.
Yeah,
I did, but I was also dressed up as Sylvie, so that helped a little bit. That was not an official character meet and greet moment.
He was doing
he was roaming after the Return to the King or whatever that kind of show he does early in the cruise was. And because I was wearing the Sylvie crown, he was like, we had a bit of banter. So it was fun. But the lines were real. They were long across the board. And that was true for merchandise the first day. Apparently, people started lining up at embarkation, skipped sail away party entirely to try and line up to get the Evie
the plush
pal animal, which they only had 4 of on our sailing. And so it was limited to like 1 per room that got it. So that was a whole thing. The show lines were long. The character meet and greet lines were long. The photo lines were long. So that was definitely still a problem on the Destiny. And my sense is that crew, as compared to the Treasure and the Magic, there's so many new crew members still that they just haven't figured out how to do that volume throughput the way that the other ships have. And then we also noticed there were a lot of things that kind of weren't up to maybe Disney standards. So for example, I was really looking forward to the Doctor Strange lounge, and many of the drinks that they had shown in the previews, like the one that levitates, they said that was broken. It had been broken for the last 3 cruises, so you didn't get that. They did not have the one that lights up with the kind of magnetic lightning thing either. So, and it sounded like they're having similar issues now on the Adventure. So I think Disney has to really be careful when they're inviting all these creators on for previews for things, that they're able to give regular guests that same experience, because there's so much competition in cruising right now that like it would be very easy to put money elsewhere.
Yeah. And Ed, to your question, how are things breaking on a brand new ship? These are like, these drinks are sitting on special coasters and they have to be charged. And actually the levitating one, they wouldn't even make a drink in it if you weren't sitting at the bar, even when we were on the Maiden, because they didn't want to have to carry the thing around the lounge.
It's like a platform.
But they also had this problem with the Wish at Nightingale's. They had these beautiful glasses that they served the signature drink in. And like by the time the Maiden Voyage rolls around, there were 2 left in the entire lounge because everyone else had walked off the ship with them. So I totally agree with you, Whitney. Like, because like they make, especially with the Destiny, they made such a big deal about the presentation of food and beverage in these lounges. And if you can't maintain the presentation, then just focus on the drink and the food quality itself, not these like crazy presentations of it. So
right. Well, and you can have a cool sipper like you've got with the Eye of Agamotto or the Haunted Mansion, guy in that lounge, or you can do the cool tiki mugs. Like those things, like as long as you keep them in stock, they don't. It's not the issue of like having this cool like showcase presentation, right? There's no technology involved. Yeah. It's just keeping them in stock. Those like are always like very well sold for Disney.
I honestly, what I am deeply intrigued about on the Adventure is the concierge offering, but because they have really made it a much more ship within a ship experience. So concierge has their own gym, their own spa, their own shop. Right. And to your point about people lining up to get Evie, I mean, imagine if you had a concierge shop on these ships that they could keep stocked with a high volume, high demand merch for their concierge cruisers. Instead, they have a little display in each lounge with some stuff that has concierge logos on it, which we're discovering half the time is sold out anyway or out of stock. So it's very interesting to me. Like Whitney, I wanted to pose this question to you, which is, what's the benefit that you don't have in concierge today? I know you talked about the drink package. Let me set that aside for a second. What's the benefit you don't have in concierge today that you're like, feels like a no-brainer, Disney, that you would offer this to your concierge guests, like the Evie thing? I just think like, how do you not have enough EVs on board for each concierge guest stateroom to get one if that's what they want?
Right. And you don't have to give it to them for free. You could just offer them to buy one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they do have the one character meet and greet that happens in the lounge. It seems like there's opportunity to do more of that, especially when we were on the Treasure, there were a lot more just roaming characters, right? And like you could have characters roam the lounge periodically, especially in key areas, not make it an advertised meet and greet. I think that would be such a nice touch to do something like that. And it would be, 30 minutes out of a character's day, but could really result in that magical moment for somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love that. I would love if like somebody brought Pluto in for a walk to the lounge and then like let me take him for a walk on the sun deck or something, right? Like I feel like that would be like the perfect like character interaction.
So
now there is a question in the chat I want to answer, Brian, about pop-up merch for sale in the lounge or concierge only meet and greets. The only concierge only meet and greet is the one that Whitney's referenced, but it is only a Fab 5 character. So it's not going to be a Marvel character on the Destiny or any kind of specialty character like villain. It's always going to be a Fab 5, plus Daisy. So it's always going to be one of those characters. I've never even seen Chip or Dale in the lounge. But in terms of merch, yes, there is merch it's that you actually don't buy it in the lounge. You actually buy it in the store, but it's on display usually in the lounge.
The hosts will go get it for you from the store. If you say, I want that bag, they'll be like, I'll go get it for you. Right.
They don't always actually. Sometimes they send you to get it. I've had mixed experience with that.
Well, in some of the merch, they do stock in the lounge on the Wish class ships. Yes.
But it's most of the items are jewelry items. There are several like different jewelry items. They're quite expensive. And you can purchase them in the fancy, one of the fancy jewelry stores on board. And then the other things that they often have, but they often don't have them in stock there's like an ornament. There is a concierge baseball hat. There is a lug purse, but it's been out of stock for a while now.
People are obsessed with that purse.
I want the purse too, yeah. And then there's a towel now that our friends who are on board the Treasure right now told us. They said it's like a very large towel, so almost like a blanket, but not quite.
A pen.
And there's also, Sam, for people that do back-to-back on concierge, they also get the exclusive back-to-back concierge pin, which is free. You don't have to buy it. But that is considered like an ultimate bucket list by a lot of folks that do concierge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was only introduced maybe a year and a few months ago. That's because
it's all, I should say this too, like this merch is all concierge logoed. And to your point about the jewelry, Sam, it's concierge specific jewelry. And Karen makes a good point in the chat, which is negotiate the price. I remember someone was trying to sell Karen, I think it was a concierge necklace, a cross key necklace. And actually, if I remember right, they were like, just wear it around the ship, see how you feel, kind of thing. And like they were willing to like go on a steep discount for it. So always negotiate on the jewelry on cruises for sure. Whitney, I wanted to ask you as we wrap up here, because we're over time. I did want to ask you about this shore excursion that you did on Castaway, because I think a lot of people get to Castaway and they're like, why would I do a shore excursion? I think if you've been there a ton, you start to sort of think like, what can I do that's different? Talk to people about this fishing excursion that you did. And I think we had some questions early on about like, what kind of fish were you catching and what did they do with it after? Was this catch and release?
What they do with the fish.
Yeah, so this was a 3-hour fishing excursion. They do 3 different types of fishing. So there's trawling, which is, I guess, kind of like dragging lines across the bottom, right? It's less active, which you do kind of on your way moving away from the ship. And then as you move back, you do kind of like traditional like lure fishing where you like cast it out. And then they have some that are more like heavy lines and some that are lighter lines. We caught, the guides told us it was a terrible day for fishing, but we still caught a lot of stuff. The number one fish we caught was called a grunt, because if you squeeze it, it goes, oh, like it makes a little grunting noise. So we caught a lot of those. We caught red grouper and strawberry grouper. We caught something called a triggerfish. That was probably the largest fish that we caught. But there were other things. So my husband actually at one point got a shark on his line.
Oh, wow.
And they do not allow sharks in the boat, by the way. So if you do get a shark, they'll let you kind of get it close enough to the water to like be like, you got a shark.
And then they cut the line. And then they cut the line,
And similarly, he had caught what we think was probably another grunt. And then a barracuda came and like bit it off of his lure. And like then for a minute, the barracuda was on the line and then it broke the line. But the barracuda we saw and was huge. All of the fish that you catch, it's catch and release. I will say that the guides did say like if it's a really tasty fish, sometimes they'll take it home, but you're not allowed to bring it with you back on the ship or anything like that, and they won't cook it up with you. But only 4 guests max, and just a really really cool excursion if you've already kind of experienced Castaway and you're looking for something new.
Yeah. Well, and I want to tell people, if you're on a Disney Cruise Line ship and you go to Alaska and you go fishing, you can't bring the fish onto the ship with you either. You can have it shipped directly home, all with dry ice, have it all packaged and all that, but for whatever company you're going fishing with, but you cannot take it on the ship. Disney does not let you bring food like that on the ship. While you can bring, like if you bought like a small amount of smoked salmon or something like that, like that kind of stuff you can, but you can't, they won't like keep it in a fridge for you. So it would go bad even if they let you bring it on. Yeah.
So Sam, let me, I want to wrap up with a few questions here. And then I think that there was one question that we should just go around the horn, so to speak, for all of us. But
I gotta say that Wes says, ooh, barracuda.
Yeah.
I just had to read that. Sorry, I had to do that.
So Ed was saying he didn't know you can negotiate on the jewelry. You can negotiate on all the jewelry in all the stores. Believe me, I was looking to get Sam a bracelet, and the guy was like, "What are you looking to spend?" Like he put the price out on the table. I was like, and he was like, "What are you looking to spend?" So like they walk away, talk to them, come back in a couple times. Like they will negotiate on the jewelry and the watches and all the high end stuff. Chris is saying that he thinks it stinks that you can't use your placeholder in concierge. Karen is helpfully pointing out that there are sailings now where you can apply your placeholder to concierge. I do think as a general rule, it stinks that if you're sailing in concierge and you buy a placeholder, that you can't then apply that to a future concierge sailing with Disney Cruise Line in much the same way. If something goes wrong on the ship and they give you a discount of some sort, if you're in concierge, that discount can apply to concierge. If you're not, it doesn't.
We were able to though, Brian. And so I think that's a great tip to reach out to your travel pro on that one, because we have an upcoming cruise on the Wonder in 27 booked, and we were able to apply our placeholder. We just had to be in a 1-bedroom or higher. That was the category where you could use the placeholder and get that discount. So talk to your travel pro on that one, because there definitely are some dates.
And then Beth is asking about differences in payment for concierge. There used to be a requirement that you be paid in full to book your activities. When Disney changed all of the pay in full dates, I think standardized around 90 days, I think was when they standardized around, that fell away. So you can still book things ahead of the pay in full.
Yes, but you still can't do it in the app. You still have to send your concierge email, and you won't be able to add things in the app until you're paid in full, I believe.
Yes.
So you can
may not be able to
do it,
see it. You may not even be able to see it in the app.
I think you can see it in the app at 123 days when Pearl gets to start booking, but you can't. You'll have to work through Shoreside Concierge rather than booking. And you can't at 130 days book stuff in the app anyway. I mean, Nothing becomes available to book to anyone in the app until 123 days.
Our rule of thumb when sailing concierge, we always pay in full before the booking window opens for concierge, because I actually remember, Sam, someone telling me that they booked with the Shoreside Concierge, then they couldn't see what they had booked, or I don't think they could see what they had booked, because it's like there's a paywall there. It's like, if you paid in full, then you can get into this section of the site. So I would just say my rule of thumb is pay in full before you're 130 days out. Yes, that is,
early,
45 days more, or whatever it is before you normally would. But it makes life a little easier, I think, on the front end of it. All right. The question I wanted to do kind of around the horn here was favorite ship for sailing concierge with Disney Cruise Line. Who wants to go first? I'm not.
Well, I'll jump in.
Go for it.
I mean, I'm going to say the treasure because I've only experienced the treasure and the Destiny now. But for me, the treasure, because it has 7-night sailings, and you have that Wish class layout for concierge, that's just absolutely the best value.
Yeah. Okay, I will jump in next. I think that the Destiny and the Treasure are great options, but I have to go with the Wonder because the Wonder has that sun deck that's just fantastic. You've got less people sailing in concierge. It's got the best concierge lounge of the classic ships, even though it doesn't have a water feature. And because, of course, the Wonder goes to Alaska. And to me, the ultimate concierge experience is our sailing in Alaska. So that's why I picked the Wonder. But I would say that the Wonder and the Wish class are the best options for concierge in general. I don't necessarily think it's as worth it on the Magic or on the Dream or Fantasy. So. Brian.
I'm going to give the off the wall answer here, which is to say, even though we haven't been on her yet, from what I can tell, concierge on the Adventure may be a new winner here, and for a bunch of different reasons. One, the price point of concierge on the Adventure is it borders on what concierge used to cost in the main fleet here in the U.S. before all of the price hikes. And the second thing is they have dedicated lounge, dedicated gym, dedicated spa, dedicated store. There's more benefit, it feels like, being packaged into that product over in Asia, which is not surprising because the folks in Asia who want to sail in that category expect and demand a lot more from it. So if we ever sail on the Adventure, I will sail in concierge just because I am so interested to see how that offering works. The only downside, I think, on the Adventure is the number of concierge, the sheer number of concierge staterooms on that ship.
The number of passengers is a downside in general.
Exactly. Well, Whitney, we super appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience with sailing concierge, and especially on the Destiny, because not very many people have had that opportunity yet. Yeah. Sam, I want to highlight two things as we wrap out the show here. One is, folks, we are sitting at 549 reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you are the 550th 5-star written review, I'm going to give you a one-time opportunity here. We will read a review. We will read that review on the air at the top of our next episode, top of our next live show, which is a big one. This is a big live show coming up. We are super excited. Next Monday, we have Jeremiah from Laughing Place coming back to discuss the maiden voyage of the Disney Adventure. And boy, do I expect that show to be a doozy, because we are seeing feedback that is all over the map about this ship. Before that show, if you have not listened, go back in the catalog a couple of episodes. We did a sort of a preview with Jeremiah because he was on a cast member only repositioning sailing from Tokyo down to Singapore.
Tokyo to
Singapore. Right. And so he was on that ship. He's not a cast member himself, but he had a cast member friend. And so he had some pretty strong reactions to the Adventure from that sailing, which was a very extended sailing. And so we were very curious to hear what it was like when he got back on board as a paying passenger. So very much looking forward to having him back on the show. That is Monday night, the 23rd. We'll have Jeremiah on normal time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And
he's also our kickoff, Brian, for
season 7. So your review could be featured on season 7 kickoff of a live episode about the Disney Adventure. Come on. One more review. It's one more 5-star review. It's what we need.
So. Season 7 means we are starting our 7th year of the podcast next week. So we have been doing this for a full 6 years now, people. That is what that means. And it's kind of crazy that we're here. We're excited to celebrate with all of you next week and with Jeremiah when we hear more about the Disney Adventure. And remember, he gave a little teaser. He was not looking forward to the food. I got to hear his review of the food. We got to talk all things food. We're going to talk about the shows in more depth. We're going to talk about all the experiences on board. We also have some other episodes coming up. The following week, we're going to have a live episode with Luciana, who is on the first 3 sailings of the Disney Adventure. So
I don't think it's I think she's on the first 4 sailings of Disney Adventure.
It's either the first 3 or the first 4. I'm not sure.
She better get one heck of a special pin.
But anyway, I also think she's doing, she also is sailing in concierge. So we will get some insight into those concierge benefits on the Disney Adventure when we talk with her. So stay tuned. Lots of great stuff coming. As Brian said, don't forget to subscribe on all the things, whether that's on a podcast channel or on YouTube. We very much appreciate it. And we will see you next week live again.
Bye, everyone. Well, thanks to everyone out there for listening this week. We really, really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep getting great content from us every week. In fact, twice a week we publish shows. So be sure to hit the subscribe button to get all of those great episodes. And if you want to watch us live, we have a live show now every week, Monday nights, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern over on youtube.com/DCL Duo. So be sure to head over and check that out. If you want to help support the show, be sure to hit those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave us a written review, a 5-star written review, we will read it at the top of one of our main episodes, so please head over there and hit those 5 stars. Of course, you can also help support the show by supporting our fabulous show sponsor, My Path Unwinding Travel. If you want to book your next Disney vacation, head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email them at dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. If you've got questions or you'd like to connect with us, the best way to do that is to head over to dclduo.com. It's got links to all of our things, full catalog of the podcast episodes, including a searchable catalog for the podcast, links off to our vlog, a link to our Etsy store where we sell some fun fan-inspired magnets, link to our Patreon if you'd like to help directly support the show each and every month. Just head over to the website or patreon.com/DCLDuo. Also has a way for you to sign up for our Substack newsletter that we're hoping to start really pumping out monthly here at least, and a few blog articles that we've written. So DCLDuo.com is the best way to connect with us. You can also, of course, email us at info@DCLDuo.com or reach out to us on our voicemail line at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. The DCL Duo podcast is not affiliated with Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Company, or the Disney family of theme parks. The views expressed on the show are solely those of the individuals on the podcast and in no way reflect the views of the Disney Company or Disney Cruise Line. If you have questions about a Disney cruise or a Disney vacation, please contact the great folks over at My Path Unwinding Travel or Disney directly or your own travel agent. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL Duo. Good night.